Welcome to the whiteboard session on competency skill matrix and also on organizational behavior. In today's business parlance, it is very important that we require competitive workforce for every kind of businesses. The more competent people, the more productivity it is, and similarly it gives the more success ratio for that business. So it is very important that we recruit the right kind of competent people for the right kind of role and for the right kind of responsibilities. Once upon a time it was believed that anybody can perform any kind of a role, but in today's business parlance it is not so. We require a competent person to perform the competent kinds of roles and responsibilities. For example, if you are looking for a leadership kind of a role, we require people with leadership qualities. If you are looking for an innovative kind of role, we require people with innovative kind of skill sets. Similarly, on the financial kind of role, we require people with a lot of financial knowledge and commercial knowledge. So that is why this competency skill matrix is very important for any organization, and it has become a challenge for the HR people to recruit the right set of people for the right kind of roles. That is what we mean by the competent skill set. Every organization will have different kinds of competency skill matrix for the people. In general, if I want to define what is competency skill matrix is an amalgamation of knowledge, skill and attitude. All these three things are required for any kind of a job or for any kind of a position. Now there's a thin line of difference between skill and competency skill matrix. Can anybody tell me what you define by skill and what do you mean by competency? If I want to go further, I can elaborate this with the IT industry's parlance. Knowing a particular computer language, that is knowing a C language or knowing a Java, is a skill. But that itself is not required to do a good programming. If you want to become a good programmer, you need other skills like your analytical skills, your attitudinal skill set and your interactive understanding skill set. All these put together only becomes a competency skill matrix. So that is what today we define, that this is a set of knowledge, skill and attitude. There are other roles which are also required for the business where attitude is very important. For example, for a leadership role, you need to have the drive, you need to have the initiative, you need to have the courage to take the organization forward. You need to actually sit on the driver's seat. If you are not the driver, then you cannot drive the organization. So these are certain quality of the behavioral pattern also required for a typical kind of a skill set. That is what actually we define. But unfortunately, what happens in today's business is that it is becoming more and more difficult to find the right set of competency skill matrix of people to perform any particular function. In fact, there is a lot of difference between what is meant by potential and what is meant by performance. In certain cases, you will see people who will have potential to do a right kind of a job, but they will not be a performer. Similarly, vice versa. He might be a performer, but he will not have the potential to do it. Can you tell me what is the difference between this performance and potential? Performance actually talks about the scalability of his role or the sustainability that this person can perform the particular kind of a job for a longer duration point of time. By chance, he would have actually performed either last year or this year, but suppose if he does not have a potential, he cannot sustain that performance. So these two attributes we need to actually clearly see and find in a person, both potential and performance. Only when these two join together, that is potential plus performance, then only we should give, I should say, increment, or I should say promotion to that particular employee. Typically what happens is in a family run business or in a closed kind of an environment, people fail to understand or distinguish people in these two parameters, that is either potential or performance. Probably one employee might be the typical owner's kind of a relative or a kind of a close family member himself. He may not be having either potential or performance. But the management would actually give him promotion. So what actually happens is, for a particular employee who has got both potential and performance, it will be a demotivating factor. So a promotion is given only on basis of both potential, seeing his potential and performance. Performances actually will justify what it is, a record that what he has done in his previous years or previous kind of a job, that is actually a proof for him. And potential will reassure that he will do the same thing in the future. Only when these both join together, a promotion is given to a particular employee. Now let us talk about a typical organizational behavior, what actually happens in an organization. I can easily classify any organization in a matrix like this, where you have skills on the x-axis and you have will on the y-axis. I will divide this into 4 quadrants. That is, I will divide it as, I'll talk it as 1, 2, 3 and 4. And I will also name each quadrant. The first quadrant, I will call it as monkey. The second quadrant, I will call it as the innovators. The third quadrant, I will call it as parasites. And the fourth quadrant, I will call it as performers. What I mean to say is that in quadrant 1, you have people with high amount of will but low amount of skill sets. This refers to people who have just joined the organization, who are very new to the organization, who are actually first recruits from the college. So they come with a lot of will. They want to do things, but they don't know what to do, how to do, where to do and when to do. But they have the will to do. So these people will form in the first quadrant. Any organization, you have these kind of 4 quadrant of people. The second quadrant constitute of high will and high skill. They are the people who know everything. They have the will to do, they have the skill to do, they know what to do, when to do, where to do, and the will to do it. So they form the innovators, and they form that kind of a quadrant of people, quantify the innovators quadrant. The third quadrant is called as parasite. When I say parasite, they are the people who have low will and low skill. That is, they don't have any skill sets, at the same time they don't have any will to do anything. So there will be a group of people in organization who will be the parasites. So they form the part 3. That is what I call them here. And the fourth one is, I call them as performers, where they have the skill sets is very high, but the will to perform is very low. That is, they know what to do, where to do, how to do, when to do, but they will not do. So this is the kind of people who fit into this quadrant. And unfortunately what happens is, 80% of the workforce in any organization, they fall into this category of the people, this category of the quadrant. That is, they are all performers, and 80% in any organization you take, they are actually here. Now, like I am asking you a question, out of all the 4 quadrants, one quadrant is very, very dangerous. Can you just tell me which quadrant is dangerous? You have the monkeys here, you have the innovators here, you have the parasites here, and you have the performers here. So, in all the 4 quadrants, one quadrant is very dangerous. I am sure by now everybody would have thought that parasite is a quadrant which is very, very dangerous for any organization, because they live on others. That is, they don't do anything on their own, but they really, no, they have got low willpower and they have got low skill power. But actually it is not so. The most dangerous quadrant is this quadrant, where 80% of the workforce fall into this category. Why I say is that you can always develop a skill for any employee at any point of time, provided he has the will to learn it. But if he does not have the will to do it, he will not do it at all. So that is where the most of the people fall here. They know what to do, when to do, where to do, how to do, but they will not do. So that is the most dangerous quadrant, and which constitute the major chunk of any organization. So what happens is, here you have a synergy. In the parasite, these people also have low willpower. Here also they have low willpower. So eventually what happens is, in due course of time, there will be a nexus formed between these 2 quadrants of people. That is, parasites and these two will become pally-pally to each other. And what happens? Because both of them have got low willpower, so they have got the synergy in their attitude or in their behavioral pattern. So they will start radiating negativity into the organization. So what happens? You see how the organizational changes. The entire 50% of the organization gets polluted. I would rather mark this in a different color so that you can see it. Because of the nexus formed by the parasites and the performers. So this is a typical problem where any organization faces today. So how do we eliminate this? How we can eliminate this negative force in any organization and take the organization to a very productive way so that the organization really performs and the success is formed. That is what is called as something I would rather call it as evaporate and clean. Evaporation and cleansing process. What I'll do is I will start slowly removing some of the people who does not have will to do at all. They will never change. They will not have will to do anything. So I will start slowly eliminating some of the people from this quadrant. For example, so what happens? This quadrant, the size of the quadrant gets reduced. Say for example, if this was the size of the quadrant, I have eliminated this many kind of people from this quadrant. The size is reduced to this level. The fourth quadrant size is reduced to this level. But doing this, what will happen is people in the parasite quadrant also eventually will go out of the system automatically, because the fear complex is created in this group of people. That the organization have started removing people in this quadrant. So they, due to the fear complex, some of the people will go from this quadrant. This quadrant also gets reduced to say this size. And you have only these set of people. What will happen to them is they will start moving on to this quadrant. That is, they will start developing the willpower to learn technologies, to perform things. So actually, they will start moving here. And here already you have people with a lot of willpower. So I just told you in the beginning itself that if you have the willpower, you can always develop skill. There is not a problem at all. So I also start developing these monkey categories. They will also start falling into this quadrant, and ultimately the quadrant size becomes, see how the new quadrant is getting formed. You have a new quadrant coming here. See how I am developing a new quadrant to a performance-based quadrant where people start performing each other. This is the organizational behavior I am talking of. This applies to any industry, irrespective of what vertical you are in, whether you are an IT industry or a non-IT industry. You have all these sets of people, and they form, and some of them form as a bottleneck to actually take the company forward. So this is what actually we do or we study in the organizational behavior. I think by seeing this presentation, this is helpful to all the viewers who are also at the leadership level to actually reinvent their organization and take the organization to the next level for the next performance. Thanks for seeing this video. Please also see my other videos, like I have also shared my, in the YouTube, I have videos on HIS, it is Hospital Information System. Similarly on why startups fail. Thanks for watching. Thanks a lot.